So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this event. I'd like to start, I have to say my name. My name is Dr. Catherine Harding, and I'm the Associate Dean Academic in the Faculty of Fine Arts. I'd like to start us in a good way by asking us to bring our bodies, our minds, our hearts into the room for a territorial acknowledgement. So I'd like to acknowledge with respect the unceded Lekwungen lands that the University of Victoria sits on, the stewardship of the lands of the Songhees, Skszwx, Skszwx, and Wyss peoples, and their stewardship of the land and their contribution to this environment over, thousands and thousands and millions of years. And also to bring our consciousness into really thinking about the work that we need to do to work with the 94 recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, and how it's about turning our minds and our lives to finding ways to bring in really deep change. So I hope that that's something that I'm sure tonight is going to help us move in that direction. So I'd like to welcome you all to the 4th annual presentation in the Lehan Family Activism in the Arts lecture series. We're very pleased to welcome representatives of the Lehan family who are with us here this afternoon, and we continue to be indebted to them for their support of this important speaker series. Over the past 4 years, we have been honored to welcome as Lehan lecturers the Jamaican-born artist Charles Campbell, Kwakwaka'wakw artist and author Gord Hill, and the African-Canadian dub poet, theater interventionist, and decolonial scholar Dabi Anita Africa, all of whose talks you can watch on our Fine Arts YouTube channel. Just before I introduce our guest speaker, we would like to play a short video that will give you a sense of the important role that activism has long played in the Lehan family.
What's a community activist? That's a really good question. Oh, my lovely sister, Frida. She's incredibly respected in the city of Victoria. She was one of the earliest leaders in the Peace March, the big Peace Marches in Victoria.
Raging Grannies are a group of women who want to make a better world for all grandchildren, all over the world. Mel is a great activist. The work that he's done in the Kitsilano area of Vancouver to stop high-rises, to make the community a better community, I admire very, very much.
Well, I think people think that it's hard to succeed in community activism. It's not. If you're really serious and you involve a lot of people, it's more often than not you're going to win whatever it is you're trying to do.
I was a strange young person. I became an activist in high school even. I found that was, I don't know if you'd call it my calling, that's not the word, but I found it made me feel good to be doing things for people.
And then I can't talk about this topic without mentioning my parents, Carl and Leah. They were always active and they were always making a difference, and I grew up with them as a role model. They also felt a strong commitment to their community, to their city, to their country, and indeed to the world. They were peace activists. They were always out marching for peace.
I was a founding member of the Greater Victoria Disarmament Group that started in 1978. And in that, we started the annual Peace Walk. It was around that time that a group of women wanted to do more action. They felt that we're not listened to.
Community activism is always about a group of people doing things together. It's never one person. So you get to work with your neighbors, you get to know them, you get to have a feeling that you're making a difference.
In 1992, Greenpeace came to Victoria and their ship, the Rainbow Warrior, and they were asked to go up to Ketchikan, Alaska, to demonstrate against a nuclear base up there. And they asked me if I wanted to come. I got a hat, and I went on the boat with them. And that basically started me. I took off of that.
In people there are power, and it's been true throughout the ages. There's nothing that people can't do that can't be achieved by working together. It's always about people working together.
I quote Margaret Mead, who said, one person does make a difference. And join organizations. Become a raging granny if you're a woman. Oh, and if men want to join us, we tell them start your own group.
It can sing a song, it can be a song of protest, at the farmer's market, it can be a song about the joy of urban farming. It's a spirit building thing. You have to have dance, you have to have plays, you have to have music. And how can you separate activism? How can you actually separate? You can't separate activism from the arts.
People listen. They like to hear songs. And they admire it. I have had many young women come up to me and say, I'm going to be a raging granny when I grow up.
If you want to have a good time, become an activist and a community builder, because there's nothing more satisfying than working with your neighbors, getting to know them, getting to play music, getting to speak out about things that are wrong and speak out in favor of things that you want to do.
I don't know, it's just something in me that makes me want to make a better world. When I see all the bad things that are going on in the world, I've got to do something to make it better. I've often thought to myself, Frida, you're 86 now, why don't you retire and do things your own? I can't, I just can't do it.
So tonight's guest speaker is Dr. Sďwx, Skszwx, a Squamish, Stolo, Hawaiian, Swiss matriarch based in Vancouver. Sďwx is an interdisciplinary artist who works with digital media, writing, performance, and land-based remediations in her multidisciplinary arts practice. She is also a community-engaged public artist, IndigiFuturisms developer, and ethnobotanist, permaculture designer. Her works range over 30 years and have always focused on sustainability, permaculture techniques, Coast Salish cultural elements, and have included themes of ethnobotany, indigenous language revival, Salish weaving, and digital media technology. In 2022, Sďwx was awarded an honorary doctorate from the Emily Carr University of Art and Design, and in 2023 was awarded the 4-year Musqueam Squamish Tsleil-Waututh Lands and Waters Fieldhouse Artistic Residency in Stanley Park. She is infusing all elements of her diverse practice into this time spent reconnecting to her ancestors, whose spirits remain a part of the forest and shoreline. Sďwx is currently working on bridging the languages of plants and mushrooms, as well as other forms of fungi, with Indigenous languages and creating conversations between them all. She is using biosonification with modular synthesizers to work with these healing sounds. Please join me in welcoming our wonderful guest speaker, Dr. Sďwx, to the podium. Good luck. Good.
People always think, I'll never get to say your name right, so cheer her on. And I just want to thank you so much for being here. Like, wow, having one of the legendary Raging Grannies, OMG. I am such a fan. I'm a Raging Granny already. I'm ready to join you.
There is a group in Vancouver if you want to.
Oh, I know. I kept trying to get my mom to join, but it was too hard on her health, but she loved what you did. She was very proud of you women. She was always telling me it was important for women to just really kick butt. So Sďwx tnoya, Twitztanat Quian Punshaman, Sgsmån Sna, Unhop and Squallowan, and Winoxton Squallowan Titsits. Really want to acknowledge where we are and thank the Lekwungen speaking people. And whenever I come here, I'm so happy to be on Vancouver Island because it's not far from Vancouver, and yeah, it costs a bit of money, but the weather is always a bit nicer over here. Maybe it's because I'm staying in a nice hotel, and yeah, I don't know. But everything's nice, and I've just had a really great week of being around really incredible people and meeting quite a few students and having people interact with some of my works. So I thank you all for taking this evening to be here, and yeah, let's go into my presentation. I did a bit of this earlier this week, but I also, now you're gonna, good. My daughter's messaging, I'm like, oh no, are all the messages gonna come up? But they didn't. I just sent her some pictures from today, and it was pretty special. So yeah, I just, some of it has already been seen by some people here, but I added more to this presentation. And yeah, so I started doing this series called the Sacred Teaching Series in my Futurisms work when I started to do that, and I was like, what do I make? I'm still afraid of this technology. And then, working with the all.For lab, which I'm a part of. So all.For lab is the Indigenous Matriarchs 4. We are a lab based in Vancouver, and we have big dreams of moving here, by the way. And we are a group of women who have all worked collectively in our own right in media in different ways. So Tracy Kimbano, who's the daughter of Jeanette Armstrong, and they're both really strong, really powerful Indigenous women based in their language and their culture. Jeanette and her brother built the Anaukin Center in Penticton, and so Tracy has taught there for years and kept that whole administration element going, keeping it cultural. And Doreen Manuel runs the BOSA Center in Capilano University in North Vancouver. Loretta Todd, of course, she's the head of our group, and she is just an incredible media woman that has been out there for multiple decades. She started, in her early 20s, and my mother and her worked together. It was really cool. My mom was always like, oh yeah, Loretta was so cool. She was like this student of film, and we were always fascinated by her life and her way of living, and that's where they become good friends. And when I decided I wanted to get into media, my mother was like, you must go see Loretta. I'm like, okay, hi Loretta. I'm so intimidated, but found out really quickly not to be. She was very nurturing, and over the years, she's really supported me, her and her daughter, Kamala. And then myself. So it's a really powerful group, and what we do is we train people in futurisms, we train people in Unreal Engine and other virtual production qualities. So we offer the first ever micro-credential course in virtual production using Unreal Engine, and that's just not happening out here in Western Canada yet. So we pay our students to go to school. We feed them by hiring Indigenous caterers. We hire as many Indigenous Futurisms artists as we can, but we also have a very diverse staff of BIPOC people. So we're very excited about the works we make, and all of our students get works in festivals. So we always work in conjunction with the Vancouver International Film Fest. So our students get immediate international exposure for their work. And there's just nothing like what we're doing out here, and we just want to keep doing it. And so this was a show that I was in, and I loved the table. So actually, Loretta loaned me the table for the show, and I was like, I just want to put a tea setting out so that people coming in here feel like they're at home and what they might see in one of their aunties or their grannies' homes. So that's what all those medicines are. And then there were my mother and my late mother and my daughter were both in the show with me. And yeah, we had a beautiful, strong family show of 3 families showing their works together, and it's really powerful. Yeah. So I want to talk about some of the Futurisms work I do, and the 3 images I have. The big image in the river is my first 360 VR piece, where I went out into the Sďwx River, which is, Sďwx is actually at the north end of Howe Sound. And Howe Sound is a biosphere that's protected internationally, but we still have to deal with the LNG there. So we're constantly living with that threat, and it's important to note that. So Sďwx is a cultural person I met when I went on canoe journeys, and it was like, you know, I always look for strong women to just be around, and you know, like, how can we all get into trouble in a good way, I guess. I'm all about the good trouble. So anyway, I see her across the room, and she gets up, because, you know, people get up and talk, and she was just so powerful. Her language skills, her cultural skills, her songs, and over the years, her stories. She weaves, she makes drums, she is completely self-motivated, and I'm like, this is a powerful woman. So I approached her and asked her if I could write a First Peoples Cultural Foundation grant to do, to learn how to weave, because I could never, in my crazy busy life, I never have time to go when all the community's going. So I was like, I don't want to miss an opportunity. Found this woman that is an amazing teacher. And yeah, we've now built a really strong friendship over 5 or 6 years, and we support each other. So when I asked her, would you be in my 360 video? She's like, sure. What do you want to do? And I first wanted to go, this is the funny part, we weren't going to go to the river. I wanted to go out to the Idaho, which is our territory it's a rainforest we protected, and you're welcome. We did too, actually. We've saved 2 rainforests, so you're going to find that out through the course of this work. So she's like, no, there's grizzlies running around, so we're not going there. I'm like, oh, it's true. I remember seeing the video of the kayaker being chased by this massive grizzly in the Idaho River, and I'm like, yeah, we're not going there. So she took me down the road to her place in Sďwx, and what she does is she gets hides, so she makes drums. She makes a lot of drums. And she brings them to the river and buries them under rocks and leaves them for a few weeks. And then she comes back, and you never see them. She covers them entirely, but she always remembers where they are. So I was like, okay. So my friend Megan and I went, and we learned how to do this. So I documented the process, and that's one of the films that I presented this week that some students and faculty got to share and check out. And then the bottom corner is a film that I started working on a few years ago with Damien Gillis and Olivier Leroux, and it's just the 3 of us. We've self-funded this project. We didn't really get money for this, but it was really important to us to create this project. It's an interactive dome experience. We built it during COVID, so we had to build it to have people come and see it. And in the scene there, you can see some of the ancient forest, and it's actually my family and I sitting there. They needed promo shots, so it's a shadow of my family sitting there and viewing. So I did get to bring my mother while she was in this world still, and she really appreciated it. And it's one of my motivations to making VR work is to create visual experiences for people that can't ever go there. Because I looked at my mother and I thought, she can't leave home. She's going to dialysis 3 times a week. I took her on a cruise, but it was like, we had to really time it and get her dialysis the morning she left, and I had to bring her there the day that we got back. So her health was not great, but that was one thing I could do to take her away, but this was something I could bring to her. I could say, hey, check this out. You can go up to this mountain that I can barely get up. So she was, really fascinated with that kind of work, this technology, and I really think it's important to acknowledge that, like elders, they don't always understand this technology, but it doesn't mean they don't want to interact. It doesn't mean they don't want to be part of it. And once my mother put the headset on a few times, she figured it out, and she was in love with the technology. She thought it was brilliant. And I'm really glad about that, because you look at the future, what children are doing, we want them to interact. We don't want them to only be on a screen, but sometimes games and like these short videos that are experiential can really take people a lot farther than they need to be. So I really love technology, and part of it is why most of the spiritual people I know have told me how the spirits talk to us through technology, and how it is another extension of our beliefs. So everything I've heard from elders about futurisms is that we've always had it as Indigenous people. We always look back, but we always see things far ahead. And you know, I know North Americans have often romanticized in a way that natives see the future, but we're not romanticizing it. We actually see it. We see the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we talk about it. And that's how we facilitate change in our communities. So, and then my last one is the huckleberries, and we were able to get the game. So I worked on this project with a scientist in London, and we started for a few years, you know, trying to figure out what we'd make, and didn't have a lot of money, so there was a small amount of funding. I was able to develop, you know, elements like the berries and other parts for a future game, but I didn't have the skills and ability to make a game, and I really wanted to make a game. And so we worked together, Dr. Lori Bystrom and I, and she found a young gaming developer named Jules Thornton, and she turned this into a game, and you're going to get to see elements of it in a minute. But I'm going to go back to Futurism's work, and this is a scene in Hawaii. The woman is a kahuna, so she's a priestess. She's, you won't believe it, she's about 75 years old, and she's just, I mean, if you saw her face, you still wouldn't believe it. She's a young spirit in an older body, but she shares things in metaphors and visually tells us things like she is the kahuna of happiness, and she had a partner that was the kahuna of fire. She would joke with me that when we fought, we threw fireballs at each other, and it was crazy. And I was like, I believed there was fire. She had a lot of fire in her, and you know, as she said, when the volcano erupts, we don't run. We run up and look inside, and we know what's going on, and we go back and tell our family. This is how fast the lava will go. So, you know, Hawaiians are very fierce, and they're part of the ocean, they're part of the land. The turtles are part of them. She would walk up to turtles all the time and lay down and speak to them. And all I told her was, I want to make a piece. I want there to be a turtle. I want you to be in it. I don't know what to do. And then my camera friend was like, well, we can't record audio, so it doesn't matter what she says. So we talked all this stuff through. And we waited for 2 weeks almost to find this turtle. It was really 2 days before we left. And it's on the leeward side of Oahu, so it's just looking way out into the ocean. And so when you're experiencing it, she walks into the scene and then lays down like this next to the turtle. And she's about 5 feet away. It looks like she's closer, but that is a really massive turtle, just so you know, give you perspective. If she was standing up, they would be the same height kind of thing, but the turtle's quite wide. And so she prays in the language. She just speaks Hawaiian and tells the turtle it is a beautiful being, and that it is so important to the world, and that everything it does is important. So she just speaks love to the turtle. And I don't know if any of you have ever heard the Hawaiian language, but it was kind of funny one day. Somebody asked, "Oh, so you're Hawaiian and Squamish? Are the languages the same?" I'm like, no. Hawaiian is like this beautiful poetry music that you sing, and then Squamish is like a lot of like, you know, you have to be a beatboxer to really get the languages, these ancient languages. You got to practice some like beatboxing, and then you'll get all those glottal sounds and accents a lot easier. But I love that because our sounds are from nature, and when we speak, you know, when I say I say the word for for salmonberry shoots is t'ath-e. So when we're saying that, you know, I'm actually it's almost like I have to feel that berry seed in my mouth rolling around and teaching me how to speak. So nature guides us always, and languages are so important. And so that was the most important thing for me, was for Kahuna Pahia to sit with this turtle and for her to allow me to document. It was just fantastic. We kidnapped her from a place she was staying at. She's like, I don't want to be here, come and get me. She travels all the islands, and she stays at people's homes when they're away. She does a lot of house sitting, and she's just a really free spirit, even going into her 80s. The land is what owns her. And she is called to different islands, and she'll phone me and go, I'm over here in Kauai now, and I don't know what I'm doing, but here I am. And I'm like, that's an amazing life, just to follow your heart and your spirit, but always to know that you're safe and that people love you, right? So it's not something everybody can do. Yeah, so it's just such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And again, this beautiful scene with Megan, Skszwx. Of course, we always have to have a dog present because, you know, dogs are special. And then myself, and what I'm doing is standing with a selfie stick with this tiny little 360 VR, and I'm kind of just trying to walk around them and because you're always in a film if you're shooting 360, just so you know. You're like so humble when you have to look at your footage after. And it might not be clearly focused, but I hope you can see the frog in my friend's hand. And she sits and speaks to this frog in Squamish, and she's like, Wakas! Wakas, if you want to say it. Wakas. It's frog. It's such a fun word. Wakas. And my granddaughter's always going, Wakas! Wakas! I'm like, you're singing about the frogs? Oh yeah, they sing. I'm like, okay, yeah, they do. But yeah, so Skszwx, like, we all took turns holding the frog, and when it went to her, it stayed. It wouldn't leave her. And then it finally hopped off her hand and went away. But in this experience, you get to hear her speaking. And so it's because of these two videos, which I'll probably make more, or I'll encourage, you know, my family to take on VR and make their own little videos. But I like the idea of a sacred teaching series, and just being able to look at that, and you spend 5 minutes with it, and it's a short movie, but it's something you get to experience and learn and be part of. And that's why I think this technology is so special, because yes, we can do all kinds of violent things with technology, but there's also peaceful, loving, beautiful, wonderful, nurturing things we can do with it too. So yeah, these are all new terms I got to learn in the last 5 years, because they all started coming out. And that is something exciting to me, is that Indigenous people usually have to wait decades to get to where settlers are in access to everything. That's why you'll see, you know, that's why PBS started, because people of color couldn't get on TV. So people started making their own work. So what's exciting about Futurisms is that we are all at the starting line together. Indigenous people aren't back here waiting to get up to here. In fact, there's more of us here that you're gonna have to catch up to, and I love that. Because our people, as I said, all Indigenous people have seen in every timeline. And that's what Futurisms are. They're not just about the future, they're about time travel and space travel and seeing things that may have happened or seeing things that are yet to happen. And I think especially Indigenous artists of all ages, that's the exciting thing. We're training people of all ages. We're not just saying, hey, only the 20-year-olds can do this because, you know, the 30-year-olds can't think. No. I am turning 60 this year, and I started doing this technology 8 years ago. So don't be afraid of it. My mother at the end of her life, in her 80s, wished she could sit and do more of this. So don't hold yourself back. I think it's really important. And so a couple of scenes here of different installations and works I've done. And I'm going to turn that on in a second, is the little hummingbird, and it's in a installation. It was part of a show at the Polygon Gallery a few years ago, called Ghosts of the Machine. And so they had me install a forest in this gallery. They weren't prepared for the smell of the fertilizer. That was hilarious. They weren't prepared for bugs crawling in and out of the gallery. All these things happened. They weren't prepared for the moisture content. I'm like, you asked me to bring a rainforest in here. So I had them all spritzing it every day. They had to pump these little tanks and spray, so it was always misty in there, right? It was very dry. I can't even imagine what it did to their internal technology, but we did it. And then, and then up in this corner is the team that I'm with. The Dr. Lori Bystrom is wearing the headset for the first time ever, and Jules is walking her through it. And Jules is the one that developed the game. She did that in 3 weeks. My folks that I've been working with this week are like, 3 weeks? They're really impressed because they just took my basic models and then they built more and then they created a game. And you'll see some screenshots later. And then the bottom one is our first iteration of our dome project. And we created this 360 VR film about, not only about the Elphinstone, which we call Sţwx, but a lot of people know it as the Dakota Bear Sanctuary, but it's in the Elphinstone on the Sunshine Coast. And that forest was probably 2/3 of it have been logged aggressively. And the film we've updated it this last fall, and this was us installing at the gallery on Lonsdale Avenue, and it's a cityscape gallery, I believe. So we showed, the year we made this, we were able to show it a few places. And now we've built a new dome, and we're going to be presenting this dome project with the story of Sţwx, as well as the inland temperate rainforest and the Kootenays. And so just to note that Sţwx, the Elphinstone, has been protected. And part of it was at the last stretch of their findings, they were arguing that they'd never seen it, so we were able to create this work that brought visual attention to bears denning in these trees. So imagine this 2,000-year-old cedar and a bear going to, climbing up that hill at the end of summer, end of fall, and walking by all the blueberries, eating the blueberries all the way up the mountain, and maybe, licking a few moist mushrooms on the way, and just enjoying its journey to its bed for the winter. So, and some of the female bears often give birth in these trees, in the dens at the base of the tree. And I know there are some cedar experts in here, but not everybody knows that when cedar gets to a certain age, it starts to deteriorate in the middle. And it's actually not a bad thing. It's very helpful for everything, including for wildlife. So it starts to create a den at 350 years old. It will start to deteriorate inside, and it will just keep doing that. So by the time it gets to a certain point, it'll be like, the tree will be like this with its roots out, and then the roots will spread and it'll create a cave environment. And because it's hollow in there, the bears can walk in. And so I thought, I want to try. So I was crawling in and I literally tumbled in, and I'm like, okay, this would be a little baby bear. I'm like the baby bear tumbling into the hollow of the tree. It was really beautiful to be inside that. So we documented with a 360 camera inside the ancient cedar, the 2,000-year-old cedar we went into. And then we did a LiDAR scan of the outside. So that's going to become a cloth cover on our new dome at the Vancouver Art Gallery for Future Ecology's show about climate action. So that's on from May until January. So if you make it to Vancouver, all you students, go on the Friday night, it's free. And if they say, do you want a donation to make? Nope, you're a student. Don't do it. Save yourself the money. Anyway, I'm gonna see if this goes. Yeah. I got to bring my mother to this show. She was so fascinated with this technology, right? So this is my little hummingbird over the forest, and we had, the IM4 lab had 6 different artists featured in this show. And 3 of them were from Skszwx, and so it was really exciting. Yeah. A little bit more, I just wanted you to see our team. That's the team I work with, Damien in the front and Olivier, and then Eric, who's our projection mapper. You really need a projection mapper for these things. And that's the dome on the other side. It's actually made out of cardboard and paper clips, believe it or not. And that's us, that's the guys. I mean, I took a picture of them, but I actually had to go in and they did a scene with me in there, but we put a camera into this den as well. And it was just fascinating to see these beautiful ancient trees. Yeah, just take a drink for a sec. I didn't do this last night, and I was like, oh, I'm so thirsty. So this is my work from, this is a little bit of a eye into some of the work I did. When I went to England last year, I did kind of an illegal thing, and I picked a bunch of berries fresh and brought them to England. Because I wanted the scientists to be able to have fresh berries to study, right? And her coworkers are like, what? We didn't hear this. They're walking away. But I'm like, that's who I am. Anyway, you can see the fresh huckleberries, the little berries, and then these ones that are drying after flying to England. And we had a tea party with them, and then, yeah, my big berries. And yeah, I like showing people what they actually look like, because they think, well, so you just made a sphere. But I'm like, you know how much work the crown was? There's all these polygons in there. You have to like attach things. This is the inside of my game, and little couple of shots to show you. And you can see there's a little hut, there's a drying rack, there's a little basket of berries, there's a task list, there's even a cup, so you can pick leaves and berries and put them in the cup, and it changes color, and you can like make a tea. And the chemical structures, the little red. Even if you go on Wikipedia and you look up like vaccinium, and then you scroll down, it'll show these hexagonal images, and they are the chemical structures that tell you what is the makeup, the chemical makeup of this berry. So they have 3 chemical structures. Or is it 4? No, it's 3. And then there's the berry bush, and you can see that you can, basically there's the drying racks. You go with your tools over and you pick the berries. Miguel, did you try the game?
I did.
How was it picking the berries?
I super missed picking huckleberries back home, and I was so happy that these were Sďwx, that they were the pink huckleberries that I know. And I just thought, so I don't do a lot of like gaming in general.
Yeah.
And being in a VR environment too was like, as a dancer, it's like an out-of-body experience. I'm like, whose hands are these? You know,
Yeah, you see your hands in the game.
I'm pretty sure they're your hands because they were petite. And so it was just really, it was calming. It was like really soothing environment. I liked that. One of the reasons I don't play games is because the sounds. Yeah. So I just felt like I was like in an environment where it would be like being at home, you know, being in our old growth forests and picking berries. But they're huge. That was one thing, right? Because so you know, you're picking like this, and you pick berries at home, and then where these guys are like, they're kind of like little.
They're really big.
Little softball berries. You know?
I like to call them huckleberries because I went there and they were so big.
And it was funny how emotional we all were that dropped our berries. I was like, oh my god, my berries are on the ground, you guys watch out, you know.
Don't step on my berries! And we're all like standing around, where are they?
So it was a great experience, and I really love the incorporation of, especially, you have our science, Indigenous science, and you Western science up there, and there wasn't like they just came together in the ways that they should, that there was a space for all of it.
Sweet, thank you. Yeah, it was really wonderful to have so many people come and interact, and it's important, I think, to take opportunities like that when people come and share. Yeah, you get an idea of what the basics are of the game, and It's still in development, so thankfully everybody that tried the game out yesterday filled out surveys that I will send to my friends in England, and well, I'll probably just maybe copy them and email them. And it was great that she could send me these forms because it really, everybody was willing to fill out, so I really appreciate that. And when you're developing something, it really helps to have feedback, so thanks to people that always help out. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about, how is ancient technology connected with modern technology? And my friend who's an ethnobotanist just stepped out, but he'll probably be right back. Ancient technology. Ethnobotany is the key to our ancient technologies. And I often say, that I feel very blessed that I've spent a great deal of my life studying ethnobotany. It's an ancient technology. It's not just a science of plants. Why is it a technology? Because there are practical things you're not just an herbalist when you're an ethnobotanist is somebody that is studying everything. An herbalist is studying just the plants and how they're used. But an ethnobotanist is studying everything that interacts, including ourselves. What interacts with the plant? What likes to live with each plant? So, for instance, in this picture, you can see some ancient cedars and some giant, this is that forest I was telling you about, and some giant devil's club. And this was the short devil's club, so it came up to about my shoulders. That was the short. The rest of that, I tried to find a good picture and I was not finding it, but basically they're about 20 feet high, these devil's club, that are surrounding a bunch of ancient cedars that are just basically, it's really sad, but it's a really tiny pocket forest that's left in Argenta, in the Kootenays. And we found a 2,000-year-old cedar, a yellow cedar, with all these giant, majestic devil's club. And so just even standing and looking at cedar, devil's club, we saw different huckleberries. This was yellow cedar, so we saw blue huckleberries. And this is something to really note, is that red huckleberries love red cedar. Yellow cedar and high mountain blueberry are really good friends. So vacciniums are always around cedars. They love each other, they're best friends. And so that alone is a lot of technology to consider, how they're interconnected, how the plants talk to each other, the messages they are sending, and the way they support one another. So when I start my plant walks, or when I'm in my plant walks with people, I'll say, we're now in a community. A forest is a community. So I really try to bring that to people so they understand that we're not just in a resource extraction zone. Oh, what can I take, No, let's talk about how long these plants have been supporting each other. That is technology. And we wouldn't have any of this digital technology today without studying the ancient technology of the forest. And it starts with mycelium. It connects everything. It is the Wi-Fi of the forest. You're gonna love this. I stole a picture from you today. I was like, I gotta show ancient technology. Oh, I have a piece that I went to Carrie's studio today, and when I saw these, I was just like, I was hugging them actually. Like they were like ancient friends of mine, because I've only ever seen pictures of these, and I walk into his studio, I'm like, there's two of them just like right there. I'm just hugging them. Because they're so beautiful, and that is technology. I just imagine these heavy stones. The black one is basalt. This is very hard to work with, and to see even that much work, that takes self-determination, that takes your own inner technology, and these are ancient tools. Seeing underneath the devil's club, because whenever I try to tell people how many thorns are on devil's club, they never believe me, but they're on every part except for the rhizome and the berries. And of course, one of my favorite little instigators of happiness is the orange jelly mushroom, but I'm really just not talking about just the orange jelly, it's all mushrooms. And so mushrooms are a key to so much wellness for ourselves, but for the planet as well. And people have asked me, well, what's the use of poisonous mushrooms? And I'm like, well, poisonous mushrooms we don't have to eat. They're not things we have to eat. It's their mycelium that is fixing the soil, and when they grow, they don't last long. They decompose pretty fast and they become earth. So they're really there to enrich the soil, but their mycelium is there to connect plants together. So that's how trees speak to each other. In fact, one of my favorite kid shows is Magic School Bus. And why do I love Magic School Bus? Because it's so great. I love Miss Frizzle. Well, apparently there's a Miss Frizzle 2. So Magic School Bus 2 has Miss Frizzle's little sister. And she took, I showed this one episode to my grandchildren, and they were just like, mushrooms make trees talk to each other? Because all the kids had to become trees and learn how to talk, and they had to use mycelium. That's the wonderful element of Magic School Bus, is they are going to tell you, where things are connecting. So, yeah, anyway, mushrooms are very important. They have their own technology, and studying them is kind of the ultimate way to really understand the forest and understand how to keep things balanced. So, yeah. Just really want to honor my grandmother. She is in the spirit world for many years, but she is an incredible cedar weaver that started when she was 5. And the big basket over here with all the cedar roots, those are cedar roots. Yeah. So she would get down on her knees and strip up to 8 feet of cedar root. So we've lost trees like that. And I'm sure Carrie and Miguel can back me on this. We don't have the cedars we had. When my grandmother was 5, it was 1920. So that's why you need to know when she was born and when she was alive and when she started. So she could get 8-foot strips of cedar roots at that time, and she would just be down on the ground doing that. And when she married my grandfather, he didn't know, because he kind of kidnapped her from the village, so that kind of happened. She was apparently in an arranged marriage. She was supposed to be married to somebody, but my grandfather kidnapped her. She's like, okay, I'll go to North End. She was a woman with self-determination, and she decided she wanted to go that way. And she didn't tell him that she was a cedar root weaver. So then he finds out by accident, because he takes her, like their honeymoon, I love this, was in Howe Sound, and they went fishing. He was like, I have fish traps I gotta get to, so this will be our honeymoon. And so they went there, they went to Little Defense Island, or Big Defense Island. So there's 2 islands, we call them Quam Quam, but on the map in Howe Sound you'll see Little Defense and Big Defense Island by Porto Cove. So they went there, and she disappeared into the woods, and he had told her, stay on the shore, because he's on crutches, and he didn't want to look for her. So he came back, and she was gone. He had to climb up this hill, and I went there a few years ago, and now I know why he was mad, because it's really hard to get up there. He's like, where are you? And she came out with all these cedar roots. She said, oh, I was picking cedar roots. He's like, sorry, what? I'm with a weaver. He was just blown away that he had met somebody, that he had married somebody that had such an amazing skill. And my father bought a number of her baskets, and they are in the Museum of Anthropology now. And yeah, I think he made, it turns out she has 11 baskets. I guess he ordered 12 from her, because he originally ordered 11, but she decided to give one to Prince Philip. And my mother was like, oh, I have to let you know that your basket got sold to, or got given to Prince Philip, right? And so one of her baskets is in the royal collection somewhere. But a number of her baskets, our collection, we put into the museum so we could protect it, and so that our family could see it many, many decades ahead. And, cedar really is everything. Like, there's nothing we can do, There's nothing that we can do there's nothing we could duplicate, is what I'm trying to say. There's nothing we could duplicate that is what cedar is to us. Because it's not just when we've harvested it that it's important. It's it's everything. It protects us while it's growing. We use every part of it for everything. We use it for spirituality, for regular living. We weave everything. And these baskets that my grandmother made were watertight. You could literally fill them with water, and cedar expands. So, you know, we used different technology to carry things, to do things, but everything my grandmother needed, she had to make it. And it's really important to notice and to note that in this life, contemporary life, oh, I need something, I'm gonna go get it, go buy it, or I'm gonna go drive somewhere and buy something. We're not going on the land, we're not harvesting, we're not spending weeks building something we need. We're just in a disposable culture. So while that is happening, we've also wiped out all cedar. So a lot of my work is around protecting areas where cedar is, and it really is important to me. Yeah, and I realize there's still 2 more. Oh, no, that's the end. Okay, well, I want to leave time for questions and comments, and I'll leave it up on